Good morning from New Road in Worcester, where play is about to begin on the fourth and final day of this LV County Championship Division 2 match between Worcestershire and Glamorgan. Lovely bright sunshine out there, a sparse crowd because there isn't going to be a lot of cricket, but what cricket we are going to have is going to be absolutely fascinating. The game is beautifully poised. It will be won by one of these two sides, that is for sure. 100 runs required by the visitors Glamorgan to win, and 5 wickets required by the home team Worcestershire to win, and a new ball immediately available and immediately going to be taken at the Douglas end by Joe Leach. Alongside me is Nick Webb of BBC Rail Sport. Great to have you, Nick, for the last few days, and we've seen a cracking game of cricket, whatever happens this morning.
We have. It swung one way or another. It looks as though it was Worcestershire's game for most of the first 2.5 days, but Colin Ingram's century has put Glamorgan in with a chance of getting to 332, but with the new ball in Leach's hands, it might seem a long way away as James Harris faces up.
So Joe Leach, with probably quite a bit of responsibility resting on his shoulders. He will have been aware of that last night, and he comes in now to bowl to James Harris, and the first ball of the day is bang on the mark from Leach and pushed back up the pitch to him by Harris. The ball, I was just trying to focus on the ball to see if I could see the golden writing on it that tells us that he didn't decide to have a loosener or two with the old ball before he took it, but it has been taken, and I think that's crucial. Just getting through this new ball is going to be so important. Here's Leach, comes in now to bowl to Harris, and he is pulling his bat away from that one as it goes through outside the off stump. A lot will depend on just what sort of life the Worcestershire bowlers can generate from this surface with the new ball. We've seen throughout the game, occasionally, particularly from the Douglas end, from which Leach is operating this morning, the ball rising sharply, and plenty of interest for the wicket keepers and the slip cordons of both sides throughout this game. Michael Neeser in particular from that end, a thorn in Worcestershire's side in both innings, and Leach at the beginning of the first innings, the same for Glamorgan. Comes in now and bowls. That one's a bit wide outside the off stump, and Harris far too experienced to have anything to do with that one. 2-3-2 for 5 then. Lovely sunny morning, and I would say you've probably got an hour and a half, 2 hours of good cricket in prospect here, and it's free entry. If you're in the town or in St John's perhaps, and you fancy a stroll down, it's absolutely beautiful here at New Road. I would recommend it 100%, and it could be very exciting too, as Leach comes in and bowls, and Harris again is leaving alone outside the off stump, and that one moving a little bit back in towards the leg side as after it had passed the stumps and taken by Gareth Roderick standing back.
If you're looking at your watches, we did start about a minute early, I believe. The clock in the distance.
Well, yeah, because when I do my first update, which is shortly after 11, we're usually just into the first over. I think we might well be into the second over on this occasion. Here's Leach anyway, he's in and he bowls, and I think Harris again pulls his bat out of the way of this one, didn't play at it. Not quite got his line right so far. Joe Leach needs to make the batsman play. Probably got a 4 or 5 over spell in him with this new ball, and well, my estimation is that in that 4 or 5 over spell, Worcestershire need to pick up a couple of wickets. Pitch did appear to have flattened out, but talking to Charlie Morris last night, a lot of that perhaps to do with the ball going a little bit soft. As Leach bowls, and Harris does play this time on the back foot, defensively out on the offside. The day begins with a maiden over from Joe Leach, and it stays at 232 for 5.
Yes, I've asked Dr. Hignell to trawl back through the records, the Glamorgan statistician. He did point to a Glamorgan successful pursuit of 331 here for victory in 1993 when Darren Thomas hit the winning runs with Roland Lefebvre as his partner. And
almost an identical chase.
Yes, almost identical.
Here's that update that I was talking about. We've had one over this morning, bowled by Joe Leach with the new ball, and it was a maiden, which means that we are exactly where we were overnight. Glamorgan need 100 runs to win this game. Worcestershire need 5 wickets. Bright sunshine, free entry to the ground to anybody that wants to come down, and a very, very intriguing couple of hours of cricket in prospect. James Harris is 1 not out overnight. Billy Root is on strike, the left-hander. He's 46 not out. Charlie Morris is bowling the second over of the day, and the visitors are 232 for 5.
As Morris has the ball back in his grasp at this new road end, and a bit more sunshine today around. Reasonable proportion of blue sky. The sun will come and go. It's out at the moment as Morris is in, bowls, and Root leaves outside off stump. And there's no run. Glamorgan's highest successful run chase was 367 for 4 at Chelmsford against Essex in 2001, and also reached 367 against Hampshire at Southampton in 1990. In terms of the highest 4th innings score, that was against Worcestershire in bizarre circumstances, as Morris is in and bowls, and that's allowed to go through. In 1990 at Abergavenny, small and therefore high-scoring ground, Glamorgan was set a victory target in the 490s and finished up just a handful of runs short. I was there on the final day. Don't think I was working, but Robert Croft needed to hit the final ball of the match for 6 to win it, and just couldn't get it away. As that is the first run of 2022's encounter day 4, and Billy Root noodles one down to third man for a single. He moves to 47, and the total onto 234 for 5.
Is that a no ball then?
I'm struggling to wonder why the score's gone up 2.
By 2. Hang on a minute.
The first ball was signalled wide while you were doing the update.
Yeah.
There we are. So 234 for 5. That was the first run off the bat today. As Harris drives. No, that was not under control. I don't think it was on the half volley. It was uppish towards mid-on.
Bounced well short of him, didn't it?
Yes, it wasn't a chance.
Sort of did well to stop it, really. Kind of just threw his body behind it, didn't he?
Get something on it.
Wasn't going to go past. Yeah, like a goalkeeper.
98 to win, 5 wickets to win. As in comes Morris for the 5th ball of his over, and has Harris in some trouble there. As he's hit on the thigh pad, ball just bounces down in front of him. Speaking of goalkeepers, the Glamorgan assistant coach Mark Walton was throwing himself around in pre-match warm-up in goal. Former professional goalkeeper with clubs including Norwich City and Cardiff City.
Yeah, played an FA Cup semi-final for Norwich City against Sunderland in a losing cause. As
Morris is in, finishes over, bowls to Harris, and Harris removes his bat possibly slightly too late. That's the end of the over. 2 runs off it, a wide and 1 off the bat. Just to recap quickly on that match against between Glamorgan and Worcestershire at Abergavenny. It was a bizarre run chase where Glamorgan packed it in basically at somewhere around 230 for 5 or thereabouts. Worcestershire keen to get the game alive again, then lobbed up some freebie runs for about 100 of them, and then it was game on again.
Yeah.
It was the only time I've ever seen that in the 4th innings.
Here's Leach round the wicket from the Diglis end in bright sunshine, bowls to Root, drives nicely through the covers, Billy Root, and he's going to get 4 despite the pursuit of the ball from mid-off from D'Oliveira, slightly overpitched from Leach, and Root's 50 has come up. Good effort from Billy Root. 99 balls and 6 fours for him, and a good effort it's been in the Glamorgan cause from the left-hander, who waits now as Leach bowls again to him and lets that one go outside the off stump. Good leave. It's been a good innings from Billy Root. I've been quite impressed. He lobbed one up in the air quite early on, and it passed just over the head of Brett D'Oliveira at mid-off. Seems a long time ago now, that. But apart from that, played and missed a couple of times, notably reverse sweeps against Baker, both of which ended up going for 4 byes. But he's generally been very, very watchful and productive, and now needs to step up, having lost Colin Ingram after that excellent partnership last night. Started well this morning. Here's Leach in, bowls to Root, and he's forward, pushing up to mid-on, and again there is no run. It remains 238 for 5, 94 to win. Worcestershire need 5 wickets.
Root's second half century of the season. In his 6th innings, he started with 88 against Durham, but he's had 4 scores of under 20 since then.
You will very much want to see Glamorgan home. Leach round the wicket, bowls to him, and he plays nicely up to mid-on. Hands raised in the cordon. Joe Leach raising his hand, suggesting that if Billy Root had missed that one, there would have been a big shout. But played it solidly enough. Goes for a little walk, the batsman. Comes back in. 3 slips in place. Root with a 50 to his name after a couple of failures. Will be feeling good, but at the same time he will know that the job is far from done. Leach into him now, bowls, and he lets that go outside the off stump. Good leave, past about stump high and probably 6, 8, 10 inches outside the off stump, taken by Gareth Roderick. 1 ball left in the over, and they will certainly, we've talked throughout the game about the batsmen setting themselves small targets. These two will have said, let's just get through the first 4 or 5 overs with this new ball. Let's try and see Joe Leach off. They know the threat that he poses. So far so good for Glamorgan, as Leach is in and bowls and Root is forward, and just a perfect shot for 4 through extra cover. Just leaned into it, he hardly hit it. There's a gap there, he made sure it went into the gap, and he just timed it beautifully, and that races away. So he goes to 55 and looks in good touch this morning, Billy Root, and the target to win now is reduced to 90. That's 242 for 5. Root 55. Harris quite happy to still be there on 1.
Well, 10 runs doesn't sound an awful lot, but it's got Glamorgan going in the right direction first thing this morning, and with sun bathing New Road, it's a beautiful vista for this contest. 3 slips for Morris. Right arm over to Harris, who works him on the leg side, and they'll jog through for a single as Azhar Ali retrieves it. 89 runs to win. So a couple of shots from Root getting him going for the day, and while there are people who can bat to come, Glamorgan would be very keen to see him shepherding at least most of this run chase.
Love that second shot off Leach. I mean, they're both good, but the second one is just a minimum of effort, maximum efficiency. perfectly played.
243 for 5. Morris bowls to Root, who gets that one through the covers as well. It's beaten the dive of the infielder and it's trickling towards the boundary in front of us, and it's got there. It's 4 more for Billy Root, just lent into that one. But D'Oliveira flung himself full length but couldn't get a fingertip on it, and it just reached the boundary. 247 for 5.
Yep, good shot from Billy Root, similar to the one I was describing in the previous over, making sure that he got it into the gap, didn't play a glorious shot straight to a fielder.
Next delivery is allowed to go through. .247 for 5.
Good start for Glamorgan this morning. I think they'll be very positive. The great thing about it is that not only have they put the bad balls away, but they haven't really made any mistakes, and in terms of mental strength and confidence early on, that's crucial. Just exactly what they would have wanted.
Morris to Root 3, slips crouching forward, comes Root, defends on the leg side, no run. All very, very tense for this small crowd, and hopefully a large listenership and viewership for us. So it's all in the balance still. 85 runs needed to win, still 5 wickets needed by Worcestershire, as Root allows that one to go through outside off stump, and there is no run.
Yeah, just to sort of reinforce that point I was making, we all know that the game is played almost as much in the head as it is with the body, and in terms of batting, that's absolutely the case. And these two will have gone out there and said, let's just get through this first few overs, just be careful, don't make any silly mistakes, but capitalise if we can. That's exactly what they've done.
Next delivery is played on the offside again by Root. This might just reach the boundary. No, it's slowing up. It will stop just short. It'll be a couple of runs, and they're going back for a third, and they're going to get there. So Billy Root batting really well and taking 3 runs off. Was that the last ball, or was there one to come? Yeah. So Root retains the strike as he moves on to 62, and Glamorgan on to 250 for 5, 82 needed, still 5 wickets needed.
82 to win then. Leach to start his 3rd over of the morning, and 4 overs gone with the new ball, and Glamorgan have made good progress this morning. They've added 18 runs, and Worcestershire very, very much in need of a wicket. They've got to be patient, can't strain too hard, the bowlers. He's got to get the ball in the right place. We're back to just 2 slips now, sweeper out on the offside boundary as Leach bowls to Root, who is forward and pushes up to mid-off. The conundrum for the Brett D'Oliveira, the captain, is you've got to keep a couple of slips in, because you've obviously got to take 5 wickets, but at the same time cannot afford to leak runs to the extent that they have so far this morning, such that if Root punches Leach through the offside now, he will only get a single with that man out on the cover boundary, but we've lost a slip as a result. Leach is in and bowls, and Root is dropping this one down on the offside. A little bit shorter, that one from Leach, and bounced a bit on Root, who just pulled his top hand away as he dropped it down. 250 for 5. Still to come. Cullen, Neeser, Salter, Hogan. So plenty of batting. Salter has opened a few times this season. Going to be hard work for Worcestershire. But first of all, they've got to break this pair, and this one Root is forward to, pushing out on the offside. Just
a little word to anyone who's listening on the BBC website and would like to watch as well, it is alright on the Worcestershire website. There may be an issue via the Glamorgan cricket website, so go to wccc.co.uk.
Leach round the wicket to Root, moves in behind this, pushes back up the pitch, no run. You can also just go on YouTube and search Worcestershire Cricket, I think, and you'll probably get the live stream coming up there. Various places that it's available, and gripping stuff here at New Road. And so far, if you're a fan of the Welsh County, you will have been enjoying what you've been listening to or watching. You can always get in touch with us if you'd like to. I'm at FrankWatson58 on Twitter, and Nick is at NickWebb2017. Leach over pitching slightly to Root, who clips this up to mid-on, but straight to Pennington, and there is no run. 250 for 5 it remains, and Leach nearing the end of his third over. I think Worcestershire generally, supporters and dressing room, were probably hoping, still are hoping of course, that in his spell with this new ball, Leach can make a breakthrough. So potent in the first innings, of course. He comes in now and bowls, and that's left alone by Billy Root, who continues to play extremely well. Maiden over from Joe Leach, 16 overs, 3 maidens, no wicket for 60, his figures, and Glamorgan 82 more needed. They're 250 for 5.
So Glamorgan will have been pleased to see off a little bit of Leach, maybe another couple of overs from him. He'll keep going as long as the skipper wants him, you would imagine, as Worcestershire's most potent bowler of the first innings. But Morris has bowled tightly in this second innings, 2 for 29 off 15 overs, and it is James Harris who is on strike, who plays the first ball down into the offside, fielded by Barnard at cover, and there's no run. So Harris is capable of contributing himself, but won't worry too much about it if Billy Root is still going at the other end. If Root were to go, then they would all have to take responsibility, you feel, as Morris is in to bowl outside off stump, and Harris allows it to go through. So the batting to come: Tom Cullen, Michael Neeser, Andrew Salter and Michael Hogan. Probably, I would have thought, in that order. So, as we remarked earlier, Salter actually opened the batting for the first 6 matches of the season, with Byram out injured. As Morris runs away from us at the New Road end. In balls outside off stump. Harris is not to be tempted. He's really not going to risk anything at the moment, James Harris, and probably quite rightly so from the visitors' point of view. Worcestershire's over 8 is +3, so thankfully they won't have to worry about the time they take with their seamers. We haven't seen an awful lot of the spinners in this match from Worcestershire. In fact, they didn't bowl at all in the first innings. As the seamers finished Glamorgan off. Morris in, outside off stump. That was wide-ish, but is not called wide on this occasion by umpire O'Shaughnessy. As clouds sweeping over the ground. A few nervous players in that Glamorgan dressing room. Not sure who will be more nervous, the players yet to come into bat, or the players who are out and can't do anything about it. As Morris is in bowls and Harris runs it down into the gully, but there is no run. Elsewhere in Division 2, a delayed start because of rain at Hove, where Derbyshire 127 for 7, but that is a decent lead of well over 300 against Sussex, so might be a declaration there. Middlesex looking to bat out the final day to save a draw against Nottinghamshire at Trent Bridge. They're 73 without loss, still 102 runs behind Notts. Morris is in to bowl, and Harris does go on the offensive and drives nicely into the offside, but will only pick up a single because of the sweeper that we mentioned on that cover boundary in front of the scoreboard on the cathedral side of the ground. And with that single, Harris actually retains the strike for the next over, so he's not worried about being protected at all. I think from the point of view of everyone else in the division, they'd probably prefer a Nottinghamshire win because they're virtually certain to go up, you would have thought. And for everyone else to have whoever wins this match to shoot at Middlesex.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way most people will be thinking, below those top two. Joe Leach to have a crack at James Harris for the first time since the first over of the day, and the third slip is going in, so if he gets Leach away through the covers, he'll probably get 4. Barnard going into third slip, fell at second, Pollock at first as Leach comes in and bowls, and that's a little bit too wide outside the off stump and left alone by the watchful James Harris. Billy Root started very well this morning. He's taken his overnight score of 46 on to 62, so he's dominated the scoring. Harris has added a couple. It's 251 for 5, 81 more needed to win, so 19 added this morning by this pair. And tense stuff in the sunshine here at New Road as Leach comes in past umpire O'Shaughnessy from the Diglis end and bowls, and that one scoots through very, very low indeed. Missed everything. Fortunate for Harris that it did. That's the one that Barnard got, I think, in the second innings, that hit the base of the off stump. Leach just wished that he could produce one or two more of those. Haven't seen that many that have kept as low as that. Bounced about 3 times before it got through to Gareth Roderick, and had it been straight, I think James Harris would have been struggling with that one. Here's Leach again. He's in, he bowls, and Harris is on the back foot to a ball that bounces rather more conventionally, and he pushes it up to Brett D'Oliveira as extra cover. 251 for 5 it remains. 81 needed. If you're watching on the stream and you're within a mile or two of the ground, get yourself down here.
It's free.
It's only going to be an hour or two, but it is great stuff, and it's a perfect setting. Yes, it's free. We've said that many times. Here's Leach. In again. And he bowls, and that one takes Harris on the pad, on the inside thigh really, drops down on the offside, but he was discomforted by that one. I know it's free because David Townsend's here. Wouldn't be here otherwise. Probably after a lunch as well, I expect. Worcestershire County Cricket Food Bank in operation. 251 for 5 here. Cracking setting. It really does look a picture this morning in the sunshine. The New Road ground. Leach in again. Bowls, and that's the one, isn't it? That's the one that's dismissed about 5 or 6 batsmen in this game, but Harris is fortunate enough that it bounced just too much really and cleared his hands as he sort of pushed at it outside the off stump. But Michael Neeser was finding that length regularly. Leach found it several times in the first innings, and when they did, particularly to the right-handers, that was the result. A ball that climbs steeply and is almost unplayable. It's just a case of whether or not you're lucky enough to miss it.
Yeah, Harris has been fortunate in this over, and that the ball that shot did so outside off stump, and the one that climbed almost did too much. And
that's why Worcestershire still feel hopeful. Only takes one ball, couple of balls to change the complexion of this game. Leach is in, bowls, and Harris plays and misses at that one outside the off stump. Scoots through to Roderick, unlucky in that over Leach. Barnard's coming into the attack at the New Road end. 19 runs have been added this morning, 81 to win, 251 for 5.
And the Penydarren Country 11, who always have an eye on publicising their activities, have been in touch to say that they hope that Mark Walton's dad, Ron, a Wales over 70s cricketer, will have prepared a tasty wicket for Penydarren's clash at Hoover's on Sunday as they welcome Llanfrenach. So Ron Walton still going. Mark's dad is on the Glamorgan coaching staff, and we're referring to his part in the football warm-ups, being a former pro goalkeeper. No Matthew Maynard, of course,
made a couple
here.
of good saves, didn't
he did. No Matthew Maynard due to COVID, and I hope he's recovered for the weekend games. 251 for 5 then. It's been going in fits and starts, the scoring rate this morning, as that is turned on the leg side. It's Ed Barnard into the attack, and Billy Root takes a single off the first ball of the over to move on to 63 not out, and the total on to 252 for 5, and Glamorgan need 80. They are 1/5 of the way to achieving this morning's task.
Lovely tweet from Emir Evans, who says, fair to say every ball was an event this morning. I very nearly jumped in the car at 8 o'clock. I don't blame you.
As that is defended by Harris, and rolls up to mid-on, and there's no run. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair way away though in the west of Wales.
Well,
there might be a few up from the north of Gwent, which is relatively short journey from the Abergavenny Monmouth area.
Certainly a few, because Billy Root got a good round of applause when he reached his 50, didn't he?
As that is played on the leg side with some trouble by Harris. They'll go through for a single. Had to react to that one at the last moment. Played it down well to backwards square leg. They go through for a single. Well, one distinguished supporter is former Glamorgan captain and coach and president Alan Jones, who's still here for day 4. Could have done with him having his pads on in his heyday. Barnard bowls. Root drives into the offside. Just a single this time, because there is a sweeper on the cover boundary in the form of Josh Baker. Single taken. 254 for 5. 78 needed. 5 wickets still needed by the home side. Barnard to James Harris, who's on the back foot defending, back to the bowler, and there is no run. So the delights of County Championship cricket, which will resume in about 10 or 11 days time, because next week, the final weekend of the T20s, followed by the quarter-finals, which won't concern either of these. It's Barnard bowls, and Harris up on his toes, defends on the offside to cover, and there's no run. So the next engagements in the County Championship in Division 2 on Monday the 11th of July. Glamorgan entertain Nottinghamshire in Cardiff, and Worcestershire travel to the Northwood ground, the school ground, isn't it?
Yeah, Merchant Taylor School, yeah. I'll be there for the first 2 days, and Dave Bradley will be there for the next 2. Here's an update for BBC Hereford Worcester's FM listeners. Coming now. Tension here at New Road, Malcolm. 22 runs have been added this morning by Glamorgan, and they haven't lost any wickets Billy Root has gone to his 50, faced 99 balls and hit 6 fours. He's currently 64 not out. He's dominated the run scoring this morning. James Harris still with him on 4. Worcestershire desperately seeking a breakthrough. The new ball's been taken, but so far no breakthroughs with it. Joe Leach is operating in tandem with Ed Barnard at the moment. One more run to Billy Root as I speak takes the score up to 255 for 5. Worcestershire still need 5 wickets. The visitors need 77 runs. As Root steers that one down to fine leg for a single, brings the right-hander Harris onto strike, which is preferable for Leach, I would imagine. He comes in and bowls, and Harris drives and is out, caught behind. Good diving catch by Gareth Roderick, low to his right. Boy, did Worcestershire need that breakthrough this morning, and it has come. Wideish delivery. Just going to have a look at the replay before I decide whether I think Harris had to play at it or not, if we're going to see a replay. But it looked a good catch from here down at third man as Roderick moves smartly low to his right. Here comes that replay as Leach bowls. He probably did have to play actually. That's a good piece of bowling from Joe Leach, just got it in exactly the right place, and the first wicket goes down with the score on 255. 255 for 6, 77 more needed, and it's right back in the balance again.
Tom Cullen to the wicket. Feisty, competitive character. Not a particularly rapid scorer, so he will be relatively content to hold up one end, you would have thought, and allow Billy Root the chance to lead this. And Harris probably in retrospect could have left it, but it was in a 5th stump area and he was drawn into the shot.
Yeah, good bit of bowling. I thought it's I put it to Joe Leach the other night when I interviewed him, how come you often pick up wickets in clutches, in little bursts, 2s and 3s, rather than spread out through spells? And he said, I don't really know, it is a characteristic, he said, but it possibly is to do with the length I bowl, and the fact that I bowl fairly wicket to wicket, and therefore when new batsmen come in, I'm actually making them play right from the start really, rather than allowing them a few to leave to get their eye in and so on. So it'll be interesting to see if that is the case here. He picked up a couple of wickets, and he was on a hat-trick, wasn't he, in the first innings, and he's coming in now to bowl to the right-handed Cullen. 3 slips still in place. He bowls, and Cullen is beaten by that one. He did play at it, I think. That was a really good one. Again, just outside off stump. Might even have gone away a little bit off the seam. Bounced as well, and that was one of the ones that they talk about, a ball that has your name on it. That's the sort of thing they're talking about, and Cullen will just be glad that he didn't get a nick to that. Yeah. 255 for 6. This
is a really good spell from Leach, but how many more overs? One more, I suspect.
Maybe 2. If he's successful again, I think he might stick around. It's crucial, isn't it? Comes in now and bowls, and Cullen is slightly turned round but pushes out on the offside. Thereafter, I think everybody fancies Dylan Pennington to cause problems from that Diglis end, but the problem for Pennington so far in this game, so far this season really, has been not that he hasn't been able to bowl really good deliveries, but just that perhaps he's just leaked a few too many runs. What's he gone for so far in this innings? He's gone for 42 off 15, which isn't terribly expensive, but in a situation like this, every run's so vital. Leach in, bowls to Cullen, big shout as he's taken on the pad. Looked a decent shout, but umpire O'Shaughnessy says no on this occasion, and possibly just indicating that he thinks it was going down leg. We'll have a look at the replay.
It's worth an inquiry, that. Might have
got a nick on it, maybe.
Yeah. It was maybe heading, maybe just over, maybe just over the top of.
They got the benefit last night when Ingram was out.
Yes.
Worcestershire got the benefit.
Indeed.
That one looked as though it might have been a slightly, DRS would have been interested, shall we say. Leacher Ben to Cullen, who pushes out on the offside, and that's the end of the over. 255 for 6 at the end of it. The first wicket of the day has gone down. Joe Leach has got it. His figures now 18 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 61, 77 required by Glamorgan, 4 wickets required by Worcestershire, and Ed Barnard to take up the attack from the Diglis end.
Yeah, this is agonising stuff, I'm sure, for supporters of both sides. As if we have another couple of 27 partnerships, as was the last wicket, then it'll be a really, really close game. 6 down now, Glamorgan. Worcestershire needing 4 good balls to win this match. Glamorgan needing, well, a good hour and a half of batting, you would have thought, to get to 77, unless Worcestershire push the field in late on and there are runs available, but we're a long way away from that, as Barnard is in to Root, who turns one down to fine leg for a single, or backward square in front of the cathedral. Single taken. 2-5-6 for 6, and I don't think Root will turn down any runs until or unless he gets to bat with Michael Hogan at 11.
No, I think that's fair enough. He's got it's one of the shorter tails, isn't it? In the it's a Manx cat for the cricket team. This Glamorgan side,
as Barnard into Cullen, who works one down to fine leg. He'll run the first one hard to look for a second. He turns and will come back comfortably enough for the second. So Tom Cullen is off the mark, and Glamorgan move on to 258 for 6 with 74 runs needed for victory. Yeah, if you looked at Harris, Cullen, Salter, Neeser, they're all 7-ish, 7 or 8, as Cullen allows that one to go through outside off stump, and there's no run. There's not a natural number 10 as there is when Tim van der Hoogten is in the team. He is the standard number 10 come night watchman, for the avoidance of any doubt. So can Barnard add to his 1 wicket in this innings? 1 for 47 he has at the moment, as he bowls to Cullen, who defends to Gully, and there is no run. 74 runs, 4 wickets, the respective targets of the two sides. In front of this sparse crowd, I suppose. Certainly if you're working, it's difficult to book the 4th day off in advance, as there doesn't always go to the 4th day. As Barnard bowls, Cullen drives, but D'Oliveira makes a tumbling stop at mid-off and saves runs there.
Yeah, we got one school party in, and I thought, that's great, you know, Liberal headmaster somewhere in the Worcester area has just said to the kids, don't worry about school today, let's all go and watch the cricket. And then I found out they're from Manchester Grammar School. But wouldn't it be lovely if heads were still allowed to do that as they used to? I had a headmaster at primary school who used to say, the sun's shining, this morning we're going to play cricket, and if it rains we'll come back and do some maths.
Lots of maths in cricket anyway. Barnard bowls, Cullen leaves. Through to Roderick, end of the over, 258 for 6, 74 needed to win.
So what have we had? 26 added this morning, mainly by Billy Root, who's actually added 20 to his own tally. 1 wicket has gone down. Joe Leach, the successful bowler. James Harris, the batsman, out, caught by Gareth Roderick, moving to his right, low down behind the wicket for 4.
I would suspect that whatever your view was of the odds at 11 o'clock, it's probably about the same now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I think you're right. Joe Leach is going to carry on. This will be his 6th over, which is just about tops for him these days in terms of spells. Brett D'Oliveira so far getting it right in terms of managing to keep the runs down at the same time as keeping a bit of pressure on. Leach bowls, Root forward, plays up to mid on Pennington, the fielder. Absolutely crucial, the wicket of Billy Root in this scenario, I think. He's played really well, but if they could see the back of him, then you could almost sense that Worcestershire would feel that it was a major step forward. At the same time, if he's still there in another hour or so, then Glamorgan won't be far away. 74 more runs needed. Leach over the wicket to the left-handed Root, and Root's jamming down on this one and pushes it out through the covers. Single taken. Every single clapped enthusiastically by a knot of Glamorgan supporters down in front of our commentary position here. With the right-handed Cullen on strike, we are down at third man, just alongside the press box for those of you that know your new road. And the third slip goes back in for the right-handed Cullen, and Leach turns and begins his brisk approach from the Diglis end. He bowls to Cullen. That's 4, driven beautifully straight down the ground by the pugnacious right-hander, over pitched. One characteristic of this whole game has been, however difficult batting has been, generally speaking, batsmen on both sides have not missed out when the bad balls come along, and right in amongst the tension and the difficulty of scoring runs, Leach has slipped in a half volley there, and Cullen has made no mistake. Beautifully executed straight drive with a straight back past the bowler. His first boundary goes to 6, 263 for 6, and Leach in gets his length a little bit better this time, but errs slightly in line into the pads, and Cullen just turning on the leg side for a single down to Baker at long leg. 264 for 6. Cullen goes to 7.
I think it's fair to say that most of the runs scored in this match have been from balls well pitched up to the bat, and a lot more wickets than usual have fallen to balls just back of a length.
Yeah, I think that's right. And not that many scoring shots off what we'd call good balls. Leach goes round the wicket to Root, and that's taken by Roderick. And what I mean by that is there are some players who, the very top players, score runs off good balls, don't they? Even boundaries. And it almost what marks out the absolute top players is their ability to fashion boundaries off properly decent deliveries. But on this pitch, those good balls have not been easy to score off. It's been the bad balls that have been put away. Perhaps Barnard in the first innings made batting look a bit easier. Ingram yesterday, but other than that, it's been hard work. Leach bowls round the wicket, left alone by Root, taken by Roderick moving to his right. Didn't miss the off stump by much, and end of another over from Joe Root. That may well be the end of his spell. He's bowled 6 today. 11 gone in the day. Root is 67. Cullen is 7. One man out today. Harris for 4. It's 264 for 6, and the target for victory is 68 runs away.
Yes, that final delivery, a little reminder that maybe you can't afford to leave too much outside off stump, because it did jag back to some extent from Joe Leach. It was taken by Gareth Roderick, moving towards the leg side. 68 to win, 4 wickets to win. Barnard to Cullen, as he leaves that one go outside off stump. Cullen hung around in the first innings for 21, which may not sound great, but considering it was 61 for 6 when he came in, did his best to limit the damage before he was one of the many slip catch victims in this game. As Barnard motors in, bowls. Cullen has nothing to do with that one, outside off stump. Chris Drew offers the thought that he would love to have Di Langer in the team right now, alias Marchant de Langer, who left Glamorgan for for Somerset when his status changed from Colpack to overseas player. I think it's fair to say that if Marchant Delanga were batting, something would happen quickly. Either he'd be bowled or caught on the boundary, or he'd have a few sixes to his credit. As Cullen, who is a different kettle of fish, defends to mid-off, and there's no run. Marchant Delanga almost pulled off one of the most stunning rearguard actions that I've seen in a championship match at Leicester, where Glamorgan were about 130 adrift with 2 wickets left and lost the game by 3 runs as Delanga muscled a series of sixes. Barnard into Cullen, who has nothing to do with a short pitch delivery outside off stump through to Roderick. On that occasion, Delanga was caught in the outfield going for the winning hit, just as we'd changed commentators on the BBC Sports service, because we like to have the voice of the winning side on the final moment, if possible. As Barnard is in, bowls to Cullen, who drives but doesn't time it back to the bowler. So Richard Ray had been doing a lengthy period with 9 wickets down, and he handed back to me with 1 blow short of victory, and
he was out.
And he was out.
I'm sure you described it with perfect judgment and lack of bias.
Yeah, you can get the words right, it's just the tone of voice that betrays you sometimes. Barnard is into Cullen, who defends up to mid-on, and there is no run, so tight over from Ed Barnard. He remains 1 for 47 after bowling a maiden to Tom Cullen, and Glamorgan still needs 68 to win, and Worcestershire still need 4 wickets to win.
And it is going to be Dylan Pennington coming into the attack at the New Road end. So there'll still be a threat, but the Glamorgan batsmen might well say to themselves, well, we might just get more to hit here off Pennington, and that can be a double-edged sword. You can be in the mood to go after it and perhaps play at one you don't need to play at, or go a little bit hard at one that you shouldn't, and that can bring about its own problems. So it's a further challenge. The challenge for Pennington is to not just bowl those good deliveries, but make sure that he does so without bowling too many loose ones as well. The challenge for Brett D'Oliveira is to set the field appropriately so that if he does bowl a loose one, he's got some cover, and to that end Azhar Ali is out on the boundary at deep backward point as Pennington comes in over the wicket and starts with a delivery which Root clips very nicely off his pads and comes back for 2. Well run as Ed Barnard does the fielding. So 2 runs off Pennington's first ball. Root moves on to 69. 66 more needed to win, and it's 266 for 6. 6 is all over the place on the scoreboard. And Pennington again to bowl to the left-handed Billy Root, wearing number 7 on his back and waiting with his bat raised as Pennington steams in from the Diglis end and bowls to him, and he's forward to this and pushes up to mid-off where D'Oliveira fields.
He was Route 66 for a couple of years when numbers first came in, but decided to abandon the joke.
But his brother does it still for England.
Yes, his brother still wears it, but Billy thought that people had had that joke, and so he moved on.
Pennington then in again, bowls, and Root gets a run to that man Azhar Ali that I was describing as fielding out on the cover point boundary. He comes in, returns to Roderick. 1 man out today. James Harris caught by Roderick off Leach for 4. At that point it was 255 for 6, so 12 added since then. 65 more needed, 35 added today, mainly by Billy Root, who's reached 70. Now Pennington has a go at the right-hander Cullen. He's in, he bowls, and Cullen just pulls his bat away from one outside the off stump. Didn't bounce very much as it went through to the keeper, Gareth Roderick. Sun's disappeared a little bit, clouding over a little bit to the west. No danger of any interruptions. We had overnight rain in Worcester and Worcestershire generally, but nothing too drastic. But still plenty of blue sky and a lovely picture here at New Road. Charlie Morris down below us, just clapping in encouragement as Pennington turns again at the Diglis end and comes in and bowls, and Cullen is on his toes to a ball that bounced quite a bit. It's not the tallest of batters, and he just drops it down on the offside. It runs to third slip where Ed Barnard does the fielding. One ball left then in Pennington's first over, 3 runs from it so far. Won't want to concede a boundary off this last ball, and that's quite important as he comes in and bowls from the Diglis end, and that's left alone by Cullen and taken by Gareth Roderick. End of the over, reasonably tidy. Probably didn't make the batsman play quite as much as he would have liked. At the end of it, 65 more needed to 67 for 6.
Yes, can I offer a thought that if Glamorgan are going to win this game, then it may not be before lunch. So we may have
an extended morning session, perhaps. I don't know.
Not sure how much flexibility the umpires are allowed.
If they're 9 down, I think they.
If they're 9 down, yes, but say if they were
20
short. Barnard is into Root, who will get 1. He'll turn and have a look for 2. There should be 2 down to fine leg as they ran the first one hard, and Root, who's an athletic sort, was always comfortable for the second run. 269 for 6. Talking about scoreboards, report that overnight there appear to be strange lights on the scoreboard on the pavilion side of the ground. It's very peculiar. Barnard bowls and Root plays a bizarre shot, chopped it down with a horizontal bat. It was a cut to a ball that was pitched up, and he got away with it. He got a single from it.
So you were looking out of your bedroom window?
I was looking out my bedroom window, and it looks like Christmas lights on the scoreboard.
All right. Wow. We should probably report that. What time was that?
About 11ish.
Once everybody had gone home. That's odd, isn't it? Really
the scoreboard lights come out to play. 270 for 6. Barnard bowls. Cullen drives, but straight to cover.
Just as well that you took a photograph of it, because otherwise I was going to accuse you.
You thought I'd had a few.
I know what these lonely nights in hotels are like. You go to the bar and you're thinking, are they going to win tomorrow? I'm quite nervous about it. And
it's the scoreboard elves were playing.
We should show that to somebody on the ground staff and see what they think. And the stadium manager, maybe.
270 for 6. Barnard bowls to Cullen, and he plays that one defensively to cover points, and there is no run. Still 62 to win, or 4 wickets, depending on which county you are supporting, and when we finish this good, there may be even a few neutral listeners and viewers for us today.
Yeah, you would think so. If you're interested in county cricket, the knockers of county cricket might well pay attention to this game as a good example of cricket at its best.
As Cullen defends one on the leg side, and there is no run.
And I think there's been some skillful batting in this game by certain people on a difficult surface, or a helpful surface. Been some good bowling as well, let's not make no mistake about that, but you look at the way Ingram played, the way Roots played, the way Barnard played in the first innings, and the way that Byron played in the first innings, Roderick as well. There's been some very skillful cricket played.
as Barnard is in to bowl to Cullen, who plays that, fences it rather down towards third man. It was played deliberately and it was wide of the slips, and Cullen takes a single, and Glamorgan move on to 271 for 6, 61 further runs required at the end of the over. Quick update on the second teams of these two counties. Worcestershire saw Warwickshire pile up 497 for 7 declared at Edgbaston. In reply, Worcestershire are 269 for 5. Kashif Ali is 89 not out, and Dell made 72.
Good to see Josh Dell get some runs. He's had horrendous injuries in the last couple of years. The latest one to his hand kept him out from the start of the season, and I saw him the other day and he said even though it's still painful, he's managing to cope with it. Got some runs in the Birmingham League on Saturday and he's got some in that game too. Pennington bowls, Cullen drops this down on the onside, and it's fielded by Azhar Ali coming in from the wicket, and Kashif Ali, who's played the last 2 or 3 T20 games for Worcestershire and a recent acquisition from the South Asian Cricket Academy, given a chance, and looks a tidy player, and I think we're all hopeful that he's going to kick on in the next few months. So good to see those two doing well in that game up at Portland Road in Edgbaston. This one from Pennington is short and wide outside the off stump and punched away for 4 through the covers by Cullen. That's the danger, as I was saying, with Pennington, that he'll get a few in the right place, but every now and again just release the pressure with a genuinely loose delivery, and that is what happened on that occasion. Cullen's gone to 12 and it's 275 for 6, and now only 57. We talked about psychological milestones and barriers, and I do think when the target drops below 50, it works a little bit of magic in the head of the batsman, and they think, yeah, that looks a little bit more attainable now.
Are we to see spin shortly? There's a 12th man poised with some paraphernalia on the outfield.
Might be, or it might be that Roderick's going to stand up to, or not, it may well be that we're going to see some spin. And Pennington is in and bowls. Good straight delivery this time, and Cullen pushes up to Leach at mid-on.
In the Glamorgan second 11 game, their bowlers are struggling slightly. Glamorgan made 413, Northants 301 for 6 at Milton Keynes. Charlie Thurston's 132 not out. And worrying sign is that Rory Smith exited the attack mid-over. Now he's had a lot of injury problems. He's only bowled 5.2 overs in this game.
Pennington again from the Diglis end. Bowls to Cullen. Good delivery. He's slightly turned round by it. Just steers it out of a thickish outside edge on the offside. Ed Barnard into field.
And talking about injuries, David Lloyd, the Glamorgan captain, was in a moon boot on one foot this morning. He didn't look in too much trouble, but he was playing a little bit of football one-footed, one-legged.
He wasn't moving.
He wasn't moving. He was just knocking the odds,
wasn't he?
Yeah, like a veteran midfielder.
Here's Pennington again in to Cullen, who looks to work this one away down the leg side, misses it, and it's a good take by Gareth Roderick, moving to his left, one-handed, to prevent buys.
It's a fine development, isn't it, that South Asian Cricket Academy, and I was looking at its manifesto to give people from that background a little chance that they might not get through the conventional academy route, but they look to put themselves out of business in 5 or 6 years' time, in that they hope South Asian people will be as equally as fairly represented in the counties academies as everyone else.
Yep. It's Pennington in again to Cullen, and he lets that go outside the off stump, and it's taken by Roderick. End of the over. 275 for 6. Cullen has 12. Root has 73. 57 more needed for victory.
And it is an issue in South Wales just as much as anywhere else, in that huge percentages of recreational cricketers, I mean, anecdotally, somewhere between a third and a half of many teams in Cardiff at the recreational level are of South Asian background, and yet Glamorgan have still only had the two who are in the current side, Kieran Carlson and Prem Sisodia. So it is spin from hopefully there will be many more of that background to come through, and I'm told that the academy, the pathway, does have an increasing percentage, so that more Welsh Asians needed.
Update coming. Well, it's still very tense here at New Road. Worcestershire have picked up a wicket this morning, that of James Harris, caught behind by Gareth Roderick off the bowling of Joe Leach for 4. That was 255 for 6, but Billy Root is still there for the visitors. He's reached 73. He's played very, very sensibly this morning and currently receiving excellent support from the Glamorgan wicketkeeper Andrew Cullen. It's 275 for 6. Glamorgan need a further 57 runs to win. Josh Baker is being introduced into the attack at the New Road end, the young left arm spinner for Worcestershire, in the hope that he can make something happen. But at the moment, it's been a very good morning for the visitors. 57 more needed. They're 275 for 6.
As Baker bowls and Root pushes forward and says to Cullen, do you fancy a single? And Roderick dashes alertly out from behind the stumps, discarding a glove on Root, and prevents them from risking that. It was
I think I said Andrew Cullen, didn't I? I meant Tom Cullen. Andrew Cullen's somebody that I used to know a few years ago.
Baker bowls, Root drives into the offside. This time he will take a single. He could be in trouble if he hits, and he misses. D'Oliveira with a shy, with about a stump and a half to aim at. That was a poor decision from Billy Root. There was not a single there, and I think he would have been struggling had that one hit.
Yeah, I think he would. It just shows you, doesn't it, that even though he appears to be playing very well, and he is playing very well, but there's clearly still lots of tension out there, because that was as you said, a missed call, and he just grins at Brett D'Oliveira over his shoulder, having got in safely, but he knows that he was a bit fortunate there.
As Baker is in to bowl to Cullen, who pushes forward. It wasn't quite under control, it was in the air for a little way, but nowhere near the short leg. Is that Pollock or Libby injury?
Pollock.
Couldn't quite read if it was a 7 or a 2. It is 7. Ed Pollock. Baker bowls. Cullen drives, and again didn't look entirely convincing. And I think Tom Cullen might be just feeling slightly under pressure from that short leg and from fielders at mid-wicket and cover being very close, as Cullen this time defends. And that's all he has to do, is defend the good balls. Cullen is 12, Root is 74. Glamorgan need 56 more runs to win. Baker left arm around, Cullen forward, defending, back to the bowler. And the two batters stroll down the wicket for a little mid-wicket chat. We've had 44 runs scored this morning in an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 6 minutes, because they started a fraction early. So that suggests that we could take lunch if this rate of scoring were continued, with Glamorgan needing somewhere around 15 runs to win or something like that, which would be agonising for everyone.
Well, it depends how many wickets they
have. Yeah, if a couple more wickets have gone, it'll be very close indeed.
276 for 6 then, 56 required, and in comes Pennington and bowls, and this is driven out on the offside by Billy Root, and there's no run taken.
If it lasts to 1 o'clock, my laptop might have finished rebooting and updating. I tried to do it before, but I couldn't get it to do.
Amir Evans says that that run out caused chaos in his house.
Spilt his coffee
all over the place. 276 for 6. Here's Pennington over the wicket. Balls to the left-handed Root. He gets an inside edge down between his legs. Missed the stumps and went down to fine leg for a single. Charlie Morris does the fielding, but he was not in control of that, didn't even know where it had gone, Billy Root, which suggests that still a little bit happening out there. plenty of tension. That run out opportunity. Root onto 75. Not been quite so fluent in the last 20 minutes as he was in the first 45-50 minutes of the morning. 55 more needed. Pennington in to Cullen. Bowls and Cullen lets that go outside the off stump. It's taken by Roderick.
Steve West calling on Root to get a move on so the runs can be polished off by one and they can open a bottle of wine with their lunch. Well, I think the non-drivers would probably have a can or two. It's not sunny at the moment, but it might be one of those days where you just sit on the outfield, whoever the winning team is, chewing the fat and enjoying a libation or two.
Pennington again in bowls, and Cullen lifts his bat well clear of that and allows it through to wicketkeeper Gareth Roderick. Just got to be focused in the field in these situations and think that chance is going to come and get us right back into the game. But at the moment, things tipping towards the visitors. Still some way to go. Every ball an event, as the saying goes. Here comes Pennington, and he bowls, and Cullen's beaten. Definitely played at that one outside the off stump. Just had a little nibble taken by Roderick. 55 more needed.
I think the bowling from the Diglis end is getting a little bit more help from the wickets, maybe. One or two still getting chest-high bounce, and one or two also getting knee-high bounce.
Yeah, I would say so. Tom Cullen then, Glamorgan keeper, settles down over his bat, slight forward press in his stance as he waits for Pennington, and he drives nicely straight down the ground. That's a lovely shot. Pick up a couple as D'Oliveira is in pursuit from mid-off, and two more ticked off towards this target off the last ball of that over from Pennington. His figures now 18 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 52. 53 needed. And Cullen goes to 14, 279 for 6.
Pennington kicking the ground in frustration, having bowled a decent over, having had Root nearly playing one through his legs effectively, and then one just over pitched a little bit, allowing Cullen to drive. So PA announcer of Worcestershire's second 11 progress, Kashif Ali, of whom we were speaking, is still there in his 90s at the smaller Edgbaston ground, community sports ground. He's on 94. Worcestershire 277 for 6. Bears v Pairs. Probably doesn't have quite the same tension as first team level. Here's Baker then from this new road end to bowl to Root, who'll bring out the reverse and get a single down towards third man. And we saw this earlier in his innings.
You're not a fan.
He decided that one pretty early.
But what you're thinking is, if it goes for 4, fair enough, but for 1, maybe not quite.
Well, we saw Eddie Byram perish to that shot, which was, I think, in Baker's first over of his spell, and it seemed a bit premature, but Root may have his iron better as Cullen defends, and now short leg has been stuck right in Tom Cullen's eye line at Silly Point. So the close fielder has been moved from one side of the wicket to t'other as Baker bowls and Cullen drives all along the ground to mid-off, and there is no run.
So it's the Nick Webb risk rewardometer that would weigh up these reverse sweeps on, I think.
As Cullen deflects that away on the leg side, a few oohs and ahs that might just have gone to short leg had he remained at short leg, but on the other hand, Cullen might have played a different shot had the man still been on the leg side. Single taken.
Could Brett D'Oliveira have a short leg and a Silly Point? Could he find a fielder from somewhere to.
It's almost getting to the
that.
stage where, if, as you say, 50 runs, it's 51 at the moment, and D'Oliveira may need to gamble a little bit more. As Baker bowls back on his stumps, goes Root, just dropping the bat on it and steering it out to D'Oliveira.
Good to see him have faith in his young spinner, though,
Absolutely. We saw the same at Cardiff from the last game when Sussex bowled Archie Lanham in the Glamorgan run chase. As Root is pushing forward. What did that hit on the way through? It's running down towards the boundary. Will it get there? No, it doesn't. And they're back for 3 runs as the throw comes in, and Cullen has sped back for a third.
Leg ball.
Just flicking the top of the pad on the way through, eluding Roderick, eluding the slip fielder. And Glamorgan getting 3 priceless runs to take the target below 50. It's 48 to win. And that also, being the last ball of the over, has kept Root on strike.
Yeah, unfortunate for Baker, that unfortunate for Roderick. Everybody really. I think you can't blame the keeper when you get a little flick off the pad like that, and he's standing with his gloves about 3 inches behind the bails, and the ball deflects past him. But 3 valuable runs. There you go. There's my leg by theory.
Yep.
Proved again. Why on earth should the batting team benefit from something like that? And I'm not having a go at Glamorgan before anybody tweets in. Pennington in, bowls, left alone by Root. But I've been saying throughout the game, if you've been listening to us throughout, you will have heard us have this debate, that for me, particularly on the offside, when the bowler defeats the batsman, all ends up, and I don't care if he's playing for Worcestershire or Weybridge or Wellington or the West Indies, I don't care. If the bowler defeats the batsman and the ball takes the pad, why does the batting side benefit? It's totally illogical. As Pennington bowls and forward comes Root and pushes out on the offside. And before people start tweeting in, I've heard the argument about bowlers would just go around the wicket and target the pads negatively in certain circumstances, and that's why in my world you still allow leg byes behind square on the leg side, but only behind square on the leg side. That's a good example. Anyway, they are 3 runs nearer. 48 required, 284 for 6. Pennington into Root, who's on 76, and he's pulling this around on the leg side, but mistimes it too early on it really, and just gets a toe end on it, and it runs up to Brett D'Oliveira at mid-on. 1 man out today. James Harris caught by Roderick off Leach for 4, but since then a further 29 runs added by Tom Cullen and Billy Root, who this time again mistimes a swivelling hook shot, gets it low down on the back, this time does pick up a single. 285 for 6. Excuse the emphasis with which I say Tom Cullen, because in a bulletin earlier I referred to him as Andrew Cullen, being somebody that I knew here in Worcester quite a few years ago. Don't know where that came from. Anyway, 1 more to Root. 47 required, 285 for 6, and Pennington to bowl the 5th ball of his 19th over. 1 for 53 so far. He's in, he bowls, and that's a good one, but sufficiently wide of off stump for Cullen to leave it alone, and despite the fact that it kicked quite vigorously off the surface, he was able to make sure that he kept his hands well out of the way. 1 ball left in the over. 47 runs required. Cullen on 15. Waits. Pennington is in. Cullen is walking into it forward, pushing it back at the pitch end of the over. 285 for 6. 47 required. And Worcestershire still need 4 wickets.
Yeah, Cullen has done that a couple of times with the bowling from the Diglis end, played his shots on the walk, and maybe he's just trying to reduce the risk of getting a shooter and cut down some angles. Although I suspect if one keeps low and straight, he won't be really hard pressed to do anything about it. But the one or two that have shot this morning have been outside the off stump, thankfully, for the batsman. If you're just joining us, 1 wicket to fall this morning though. James Harris caught it slip off Joe Leach for 4. Josh Baker, left arm over the wicket, bowls to Billy Root, who defends to short leg. So Pollock is staying at short leg for the left-handed Root. He was fielding at silly point in the last over for the right-handed Cullen. And it's Baker who bowls, and Root goes for a big swing and misses. He rehearses the sweep shot. That one did bounce a little bit, and Roderick couldn't take it cleanly.
Hit Roderick on the shoulder.
Bit of kick there from tallish spinner Baker, as Root digs that one out in a cloud of dust pitched up from Baker. 47 to win, 4 wickets to win. This really is one of the best championship contests you're likely to see this summer. Reverse sweep, and it's just wide of slip, and this time I think it will roll away for 4, or will it? There's a fielder round the boundary, makes a sprawling stop and saves a couple of runs, as Root, making his mind up early that he was going to play the sweep, didn't quite nail it, but it flew wide of slip, and it was a good stop on the boundary. Fielder at backward point had a long way to go. 287 for 6 as Root jabs down on that one, and it just trickles out on the offside. D'Oliveira jogs into field. 45 runs needed for Glamorgan to win, and still 4 wickets for the home side. Breathless hush in the close tonight. Reverse sweep, and has that been dropped at slip?
You could
off the meat of the bat, really, or was it a good stop?
Chance, can you? Well, it was a good stop, but whether it was a catch or not, we'll have to look at the replay.
No, it's hit down into the ground, so well stopped.
Very good stop by Barnard, and therefore a good shot too, because he rolled his wrist right over the top of it. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? The old reverse sweep. We talked about it when Eddie Byron was out in the first innings, that he kind of gave his wicket away, but in this innings. But for certain players, and I'd say Billy Root's one of them, they play it so adeptly that it's not that high risk really, and it's easy to be critical when they get out playing it, but get out playing a forward defensive as well, can't you?
Yep.
287 for 6, Pennington to continue. 45 required for victory. He comes in and bowls, and that's that bouncing, lifting delivery, that length that he's looking for, but it's just not quite straight enough. Neeser was bowling that delivery and just getting in a bit closer perhaps to the umpire than Pennington is, and hitting that length, and the line was just off stump or fourth stump, and the batsmen were regularly gloving it, nicking it, playing and missing at it. Pennington just a tiny bit wider where he's delivering the ball from, I think, and consequently just not quite as threatening from that length as Neeser and Hogan were. Possibly Leach bowled a slightly different length in his successful spells from that end. Pennington is in, this one's fuller, and it's driven by Cullen into the ground firmly, and fielded by Pennington reaching up to his right.
That's the shot that Cullen's played best, isn't it? That straight drive so far.
2 beauties, hasn't he? That one off Leach in particular was an excellent shot. And Billy Root played a couple of lovely punches through the covers to the boundary in the very early overs this morning that were executed perfectly. Didn't try and hit the ball too hard, just steered it through the gap. He's played very well, Billy Root. Very responsible. 79 off 145 balls. Pennington is in and bowls, and this one again is wide enough for Cullen to leave alone. And Worcestershire will be they're well in it still, of course. It only needs 1 ball, as we say, but I just can't help feeling they might be a little bit disappointed with the number of leaves there have been this morning when the bowling's been from the Diglis end.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
100.3 overs gone, so we've had 20.3 overs this morning, so 10 and a half overs from the Diglis end. Pennington in, bowls, and on the back foot, Cullen to a straighter one, pushes out defensively on the offside.
Things going well for England's women. They've pushed into a substantial lead against South Africa at 410 for 6 in reply to the Taurus 284 all out. Nat Silver is now 167 not out. Sophie Eccleston is 35. Alice Davidson Richards was out for 107.
Great innings from Skiver. 287 for 6 here. Cullen on 15 weights as Pennington is in once more. And he bowls a good delivery. That was a good line, banged in short, but Cullen played it really well. We've talked about how certain players in this game have been very adept at playing the short ball, and the ones that play it the best, the ones that do what Cullen did there, they keep their eye on it and they just sway back out of the way. No massive movement, no histrionics, just efficient coping with that ball. No danger involved. Last ball of the over. Pennington bowls, and Cullen slightly turned round by probably the best delivery of the over, pushes it on the offside. Pennington at the end of his follow through buries his head in his hands. Feels that he possibly deserved a bit more there. Has a little word with his captain about the future. 45 to win, 287 for 6 Glamorgan. And they're inching towards that. And let's bear in mind, for those that are joining us, maybe some people listening or watching that haven't been with this game throughout, Worcestershire had a first innings lead of 132. That's what you need to bear in mind when you look at this run chase. So to win a game where you were behind on first innings to that extent it's not miraculous, but it's unusual, and it takes some courage and fortitude and skill. And I think we've seen all of those certainly from the two highest scorers in this innings, Billy Root and Colin Ingram.
Root down the wicket, driving, 4 runs, up past the bowler, all along the ground, using his feet. High risk maybe in that open yourself up to the stumping, but Billy Root executed that one perfectly, and Glamorgan move on to 291 for 6. With 41 runs needed to win, as Root hammered that one back between the bowler's hands. Actually, Baker might be slightly disappointed not getting down to it. Reverse sweep, next ball, single down to third man.
He's played really well this morning, Root.
It's just looked as though he believes he can dominate the young spinner Josh Baker.
The only time he's looked like getting out is that run out, really, isn't it?
Although he was close to a play on, wasn't he? One between his legs.
Yeah.
Was that from Pennington, I think?
Yeah, it was.
Test match in Sri Lanka. Glamorgan batters past and present at the wicket for Australia. Tell you after this delivery. As Cullen rechecks his guard. 35 minutes to lunch, 40 to win. The umpire's going to go on past 1 o'clock. Baker bowls down the wicket, comes Cullen and flicks it just wide of short leg, and it's fielded at mid wicket, and there's no run.
Emir, put your coffee down. He was in complete control of that. Nick's just got a bit too excited there. He played that pretty well.
Baker into Cullen again, who defends to short leg, no run. So Sri Lanka were bowled out for 212 in that test match. Australia 75 for 1. Khawaja, formerly of Glamorgan, 36 not out. Labuschagne 13 not out. Baker bowls to Cullen, who comes down the wicket, meets it on the full and calls for a single to deepish mid-on. Pennington fields. 292 for 6, 40 to win. Labuschagne is now gone for 13 as I speak.
Is it a goal, that test match?
It's gone off the screen.
Sorry.
Baker bowls. Root drives, but straight to mid-on, no run. 39 for Glamorgan to win, 4 wickets for Worcestershire to win at the end of Baker's over. He has 1 for 65 in 26 overs. And Glamorgan will be keen, you would have thought, to have Labuschagne back on board for maybe just the first couple of months of next season. But the way Colin Ingram is playing, obviously Ingram is putting his case for an extension of a contract which looked a little unlikely last summer when he was a bit out of touch and only playing white ball cricket, but this season he's going well in red ball, so the age of 36 there could be more for him with Glamorgan, and I'm sure he'd be keen to continue if asked.
It is at Gaul, that test match, the ground that was completely swamped by the tsunami with the fort over the top of it, and a wonderful place for test cricket to be played. Good that it's back there after the devastation that was caused. Joe Leach is back into the attack, coming in from the Diglis end and bowling to Cullen, who advances down the pitch and then lets it go outside the off stump. I wouldn't say it was quite the last throw of the dice from Brett D'Oliveira, but Leach bowled 6 this morning. He's had a rest for 4, and he's come back in now with Worcestershire really desperate for another wicket. 39 more needed, 293 for 6. Even Nick Webb will have to admit that the odds are now in Glamorgan's favour, with plenty of batting still to come, and I think they've done really well, and Billy Root in particular. Leach over the wicket, bowls to Cullen, who edges it. What a catch that is by Tom Fell at second slip. Brilliant catch. Leach then with his second ball strikes, hits that length we've been talking about, shoulder of the bat, and Tom Fell at second slip diving to his right, and it's a one-handed catch, inch or 2 off the top. I mean, they don't come much better than that, slip catches, it must be said. Just watching the replay now, that was an absolutely brilliant catch, and Cullen's innings comes to an end. He's played a good hand, 16 he was out for. The score is 293, so 38 added for that 7th wicket. But Joe Leach breathes hope back into Worcestershire, and Glamorgan are 293 for 7. Billy Root's still there though, he's on 84.
I'm not admitting anything about who's favourite now. I make no comment whatsoever. Cullen actually did his best to get on top of that one and angle it down into the ground. It was an edge, but he almost managed to play it down, and Fell really had to get his hand down low and on the ground and underneath the ball.
It was a top class catch, it must be said. It was a very good catch. There's been some good catching on both sides in this game, and there's been 1 or 2 gone down as well, but that was Fell put one down yesterday, didn't he, off Ingram to his left hand side, similar, in fact probably even sharper, but this one to his right, and he is right handed, and he made a very good job of picking it up just off the turf. So Leach reintroduced into the attack, the talismanic Leach, and he picks up a wicket with his second ball of this spell, and now he'll be bowling to Michael Neeser, hoping that he can do what we've seen him here at New Road do so many times, which is pick up a little clutch. If he gets another 1 or 2 now, then things would get incredibly tense. 39 needed, 7 wickets down, and Michael Neeser on strike as Joe Leach comes in from the Diglis end and bowls to him, and he's forward, pushing out on the offside, and there's no run. Update for BBC Avon Worcester coming. Well, it was drifting away from Worcestershire until about 2 minutes ago when Joe Leach was reintroduced into the attack, and he's produced a good one to find the edge of Tom Cullen's bat, and a fantastic catch low down at second slip by Tom Fell diving to his right, one-handed, picked it up just inches off the turf. So Cullen out for 16 earlier today. Leach also removed Harris for 4, but in the meantime Billy Root has been guiding Glamorgan nearer and nearer to their target for victory. He's still there. He's on 84. Neeser's just got off the mark. He's made one. It's still very tense. 38 more needed, and Glamorgan are 294 for 7. As that one is turned on the onside by Neeser, and Billy Root comes on strike. Now, if Leach were to remove Root, then I think the cat really would be among the pigeons.
It's Worcestershire favourites if Root goes in the next 30 runs.
That's the absolute sort of priority for Worcestershire, but Root is comfortably in behind this and steers it down to Baker at third man for a single. 295 for 7. Root goes to 85. I saw Azhar Ali doing some warm-ups.
Right.
That would be a real gamble if he were to be introduced with his occasional spin. But
yeah, we had just the one over of D'Oliveira, didn't we?
We did, and he obviously wasn't happy. He went for 10, didn't he? And just immediately withdrew himself from the attack. Here's Leach in again, bowls to Neeser and runs for Neeser. Or a run for Neeser as he clips this down to long leg. I thought it had gone squarer than it had. Baker gets round. Single taken. Neeser keeps the strike. A successful over for Leach. 2 for 69 for him off 20. 2 for 70 now for him off 20 with 4 maidens. And it's going to be Barnard at the New Road end. That would be my choice actually. I think I'd go for my 2 senior bowlers really, which is what he's doing, although Morris is the other one that might have been entrusted with another spell, I think. But Barnard it is, who's coming on. 20 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 51 for him so far. 3 wickets required for Worcestershire, 36 runs required for Glamorgan.
Yeah, Morris has bowled tightly, 16 overs, 2 for 30, so he would have thought could keep the pressure on, as Barnard in smoothly to bowl. And
Caught and bowled chance.
Driven hard, and he couldn't take
goodness.
it. Michael Neeser
Pushed it skywards. If it had gone straight up, he'd have caught the rebound. It went 3 or 4 yards behind him. Difficult one in your follow through, but oh dear me.
got one hand to it, and the ball frustratingly just spilled behind him. So Neeser is dropped on 2 by Ed Barnard. As Barnard ponders his ill fortune, just gives himself a moment.
His hand's hurting a little bit, I think, not surprised. His bowling hand.
He transfers the ball back to it and comes in to continue the over, bowling to Neeser, who drives through the offside, and will get 4 runs to the hotel side of the ground at extra cover. And Barnard's pride will be hurting as well as his fingers. 300 up for Glamorgan, 300 for 7, 32 runs needed to win.
Yeah, good shot from Neeser. I think one of the great skills of batting is putting the last ball out of your mind, whether you've just hit it for 4 or whether you've been dropped. And Neeser not at all perturbed by having given a chance off the ball before. Plays a lovely shot for 4.
Barnard into Neeser, tries to repeat it, and has driven to mid-off, and there's no run.
He's in the mood, isn't he? This could go either way, couldn't it? He's decided, I think, Neeser, that if it's up there, he's going to give it a bit of a dash. And if he does so 3 or 4 times, then it's game virtually over. But he nearly went to the first ball of this over, and Barnard will be running up as much in expectation as hope at the moment.
Well, he's got to adjust his shots, hasn't he, Neeser, if necessary, and he does just that, as that's not in the driving range, just back of a length, and Neeser defends it onto the offside. 300 for 7, 32 needed to win. We started the day with 100 needed to win and 5 wickets. Worcestershire have claimed the wickets of Harris for 4 and Cullen for 16, both to Joe Leach, who has 2 for 70. Barnard bowls, worked on the leg side by Neeser, scrambling stop at square leg by Baker. Might have run away for a couple if he hadn't got down to it. But he flung himself at that one next to the umpire and now retreats towards the boundary. Where are we in the over? Last ball of the over. Point is going back as well, so they are to some extent giving Neeser the single if he wants it.
I think they think he's got more chance of getting him out if he's playing shots.
As Neeser does play a shot, but he's slapped it straight to mid-off off the back foot, so finding the fielder. 300 for 7, 32 needed and 3 wickets needed.
Yep. I think, well, if he'd have hung on to that one, Barnard, it would have been a heck of a return catch. It was absolutely smashed back at him, but it was the fact that he got so much on it and he knocked it right up into the air, and then looked round thinking he might
where is it
cling onto the rebound, but it had just gone too far behind him. Very unlucky. He's bowled better than his figure suggests, I think. 1 for 55 off 21. I find myself saying that quite frequently these days. Anyway, Billy Root, who has played extremely well, is on strike against Leach now, and they're giving him a single square of the wicket on either side, should he want it. Leach round the wicket to him, and he takes it, pushing out into the covers Azhar Ali, the fielder. And the target down to just 31 runs now. So what's that? 69 have been added today, and Root's still there. He began the day, Billy Root, on 46, and he's now on 86. He's added 40 this morning. Couple of scares, but he's played really well, and he's shouldering the responsibility of taking the daffodil to victory over the pair. Leach from the Diglis end bowls, and on the back foot Neeser plays back up the pitch to him. 301 for 7. 105th over of the innings, so it's been a fairly slow scoring rate as the Glamorgan batters have set about getting the highest score of the game to win it, which is always a sign, I think, of a team that has worked hard for a victory. If you score the biggest score of the game in the last innings, that's a good effort, generally speaking. Leach bowls, and Neeser is beaten by that one. Definitely pushed at that very late, in fact, and it's through to Gareth Roderick. Still a chance Worcestershire will feel while Leach is bowling. Could easily run up and knock a couple over in successive balls. He's done it many times. It's not over by any means. Cracking morning's cricket, and in my mind a very good game overall. Thoroughly enjoyed it all 4 days. Leach in the sunshine into Neeser. He bowls, and Neeser drives straight back up the pitch, and unlucky that he didn't get runs. I think, actually, to be fair, he hadn't hit it that well, and mid-off and mid-on were both moving, one to the right, one to the left behind the stumps, but it crashes into the stumps at the non-striker's end. Steve O'Shaughnessy, the umpire, just borrowing Billy Root's bat to do the repair work, and no addition to the score. So still 31 needed, and here comes Leach again to bowl to Neeser, and he's on the back foot, steering down defensively into the gully where Libby does the fielding. Great tension around the ground, great tension around the country, I suspect, in various kitchens, in living rooms, in cars and headphones, as people are following this.
1 or 2 offices, we'll say that one quietly.
Yeah, 1 or 2 offices where the monitor isn't facing the boss's office. 301 for 7. Last ball of the over from Leach. 35th over of the day. Bowls, and 25th over of the day outside the off stump, left alone and taken by Gareth Roderick. Bright sunshine. Umpire O'Shaughnessy gives Leach his cap and sweater, and we can just take a little breath. End of the over. 31 more needed. 301 for 7.
So, where are we? 19 minutes until the scheduled lunch interval.
I think they'll take it, won't they?
Probably. Be another example of the magnificent laws of cricket, or the rules of the championship anyway, if they do. Barnard into Root, who deflects it down towards fine leg, runs the first one hard. Will they come back for the second? No, they will not. As Fielder just got to the ball as they were on the turn.
There is the chance, of course, that if Neeser connects with a few, by the time lunch comes along, it'll be so close that they will go off. I don't know what. I mean, I can't imagine they'd go off if there were just 6 needed or something like that.
Depends if it's 2 wickets needed then.
So. Yeah.
Worcestershire might want to go off and reset. Barnard in. Neeser flicks it through mid-wicket, slightly aerially, but wide of the fielder, and that'll run away to the pavilion boundary for 4 runs. So Neeser is going to get on with it either way. You would have thought, as Glamorgan move up to 306 for 7, 26 runs to win, as Eddie Byram strolls round as if he doesn't have a care in the world. The Glamorgan opening batter, barefoot, shorts on. Barnard into Neeser, pulls this one through mid-wicket for 4 more. That was muscled away. That one was going somewhere if he had anything to do with it. And Barnard maybe just dropping a fraction short. And hammered away by Neeser. And the amount of vigour he put into that shot, he wasn't going to die wondering. 310 for 7, 22 needed to win with 3 wickets in hand. Barnard to Neeser again, allows that one to go outside off stump through to Roderick. Worcestershire just needing to get a little bit of discipline back into the game. Neeser's dropped off a court and bowled by Barnard, difficult one. And then a couple of 4s in this over. Barnard might be forgiven for feeling a little sorry for himself despite his magnificent contribution with the bat, as Neeser drives again but doesn't time that one. So along the ground to Pennington, and Neeser is definitely taking the view that things are going to happen relatively quickly one way or the other, as a couple of fielders, one fielder retreats to mid-wicket. Point is a little bit set back, so there are singles on either side of the wicket potentially. No points coming up as Neeser pulls again towards square leg, and it's through the fielder. It's raced away for 4. That one was hit very hard indeed, and Neeser with 3 boundaries in an over is trying to ease Glamorgan's nerves, and that one was hammered hard. The fielder here, Josh Baker, had a few metres to make, but it was hit so hard that he didn't have time to get himself set, and although he got a knee or something to it, it bounced over the boundary for 4, and that takes Glamorgan to within 18 runs of victory at 314 for 7.
And Michael Neeser says, get your salt and pepper out, because we're having lunch at 1 o'clock. Unless Joe Leach can do something, good time to get a hat trick, I would have thought. 18 to win, 314 for 7, and Neeser has changed the game really in the last 10 minutes. He's on 18 as Leach comes in round the wicket to bowl to Root, who lets that go outside the off stump. So excellent stuff today for Glamorgan from Billy Root, 87. Good support, particularly from Cullen, who made only 16 but hung around, and a good partnership for the 7th wicket, and recently in typical Australian pugnacious style from big Michael Neeser, putting bat to ball with some purpose. 4 boundaries so far, 18 to him off 19 balls, and a little cameo like that can just change things so quickly. As Leach bowls to Root, and he's good at that shot, isn't he? Gets that inside edge down between his legs again, and it misses the stumps. A little bit of concern briefly, but he gets away with it. 87 to Billy Root, 153 balls he's faced. And it's been a cracking game of cricket. Looks very much now as though it's going to go the way of the visitors, and it's been a hard-earned victory for them if they do get it, and one that's seen them dig deep into their resources as a side, given that they were trailing on first innings by 132. As Leach is round the wicket to Root, and he reaches for that one and could well have got a nick through to Gareth Roderick. He doesn't.
Well, we're at
more needed.
Yeah, we're still at the stage, aren't we, where if Root were to go, that would throw it all back into the balance.
I'd still fancy. I genuinely would still fancy Glamorgan, but yeah, that would certainly make it exciting again. Neeser's just perhaps at the moment tipped it so far Glamorgan's way that you just feel all they've got to do now is keep their heads. But yeah, if Root were to get out, Leach aborts his run up this time for some reason. Don't see him do that very often. 2 or 3 times in this game. 314 for 7 then. 18 required. 3 balls left in this over. One way or another, it's going to be done by lunch, I think. Root, wearing 7, taps his bat, left-handed, slightly open stance to Leach, round the wicket, bowls and Root's forward, pushing out, square on the offside. D'Oliveira fields, and there is no run. If you're just joining us, 2 men out today. James Harris for 4, caught by Gareth Roderick off the bowling of Leach. That was 255 for 6 in the 89th over. But then a partnership of 38 for the 7th wicket between Tom Cullen and Billy Root before Cullen was out. Leach bowls to Root, who drives up to mid-on. There's no run. Cullen was out, brilliantly caught at second slip by Tom Felt, low to his right, one-handed, super catch. Again the successful bowler was Leach. That was 293 for 7, but 21 added since then, mainly from the bat of Michael Neeser, who's hit 4 boundaries, 3 of them in the last over before this from Ed Barnard. He's gone to 18. Root is still there on 87, and it's 314 for 7. 18 needed to win. Leach round the wicket to the left-handed Root, bowls left alone outside the off stump, taken by Roderick. End of the over. 18 to win. 314 for 7.
11 minutes till we're scheduled to go to lunch. The umpires
Having a chat, aren't they?
confer. Maybe that is the point that they're making. What do the regulations suggest should be done if they're within a couple of blows of victory, as Pennington will take over from Barnard from this new road end after Barnard dropped a tough caught and bowled chance off Michael Neeser when he was on 2, and then got carted for a trio of boundaries through the leg side by Neeser.
It won't be long now.
314 for 7, 18 to win. Pennington for a final burst. And a really important game for both sides, this, because whoever loses will struggle maybe to get back in the promotion championship race, and have to do really well over the final half dozen games of the season. 3 or 4 more wins needed for whoever loses here, you'd suggest. Pennington bowls, Neeser flicks it away on the leg side, but finds the fielder at square leg, deep fine leg rather, in front of the hospitality suites away to our right. Single taken, Neeser to 19, total to 315 for 7. So Pennington into bowl. Root drives but finds Barnard tumbling at mid-off. making sure he got down and got everything behind it at this late stage, not wanting to risk even the merest possibility of the ball going through him. 3:15 for 7, 17 needed. Root has 87 not out. As Pennington into bowl, Root plays no shots. Ball might have come back a little bit after it had passed the wicket. Roderick took it low down, going to his right. No run. Root needing 13 for the century, but I'm sure that is the last thing on his mind at the moment. Wouldn't care if Neeser got all the remaining runs. Neeser watching on as under cloudy Worcester skies. Pennington is into bowl to Root, who drives but hasn't timed it, and it's straight to Barnard at mid-off, and there's no run. So Worcestershire keeping the cover fielder in. There isn't a sweeper on the offside in front of the pavilion, and Root might fancy his chances of piercing that field. 3 saving the single, 2 slips, a third man, fine leg, mid-wicket, mid-on. Root on 87, Pennington in bowls. Root drives, thinks about the single now. They will take it, as it's a slight misfield at cover by Baker. Got down but couldn't prevent the single because it was deflected up towards Barnard at mid-off. 16 to win, 316 for 7. Root to 88 not out. 7 minutes to go until the scheduled interval. Pennington into bowl. Neeser drives, and a fine stop at mid-off by D'Oliveira, throwing himself to his right, and Root throwing himself back into his crease at the non-striker's end. It's a dot ball. 3:16 for 7, 16 needed, as Worcestershire still need the 3 wickets.
Just wondering if that announcement was about lunch. I don't think
no, it's about the second 11 game.
3:16 for 7 then, and Joe Leach to continue. Still looking for that hat trick. 16 required. Worcestershire desperate for a wicket, just to reinvigorate their belief as much as anything. Leach is round the wicket and bowls, and Root turns that on the leg side. Barnard fields. One of the most impressive things about Billy Root's innings is that if he's been feeling great nerves and tension, he hasn't really shown it. There was the one misjudgment when he called for a run and nearly ran himself out, but other than that, he's appeared to be very, very calm. And it's a good sign. Slightly open stance to the bowling of Leach, right arm round the wicket. Comes in now, bowls, and Root drives. Just get opened up a little bit, looking to play that a bit straighter than he did. Got a thickish outside edge, and it ran out to extra cover. Azhar Ali does the fielding, running back from that position. Single taken. So will Neeser be as aggressive against Leach as he was against Barnard? Hammered Barnard for 3 consecutive boundaries, well not consecutive but 3 boundaries in Barnard's last over. Leach over the wicket to Neeser. In he comes. What can he do? Bowls, and Neeser drives nicely. Lovely shot off the back foot into the covers. D'Oliveira quickly round, does the fielding. Gets the
wasn't expecting that one, I don't think.
And they go through for a single. It was a lovely shot, wasn't it?
So though Root is a fast runner, he's not always the fastest off the mark. And I don't think he was expecting Neeser to call that one.
Perfectly good run. 14 needed now. Neeser goes to 20. Good innings from him. 20 off 22 at this stage. Just ideal. Could have been out caught and bowled. Leach bowls to Root, who gets this wrong as he looks to drive it on the offside. Just closes the face on it, squeezes it into the ground. It goes up to mid-off. When you think if Barnard had been able to hold on to that return catch, what was Neeser was on about 6.
He was on 2 at the time.
2, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, that would have...
it would have been 296 for 8, and that really would have been squeaky bottom time.
It certainly would. Fine margins, as they say. Fine margins. Leach round the wicket to Root. Bowls, Root forward. Plays out on the offside. Here's a question for you then, Nick. Man of the match from Glamorgan's point of view. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Some people have bowled really well.
Neeser's best bowler, isn't he? Well. 7 wickets.
And he's played a good hand here, but Billy Root and Ingram have played really well.
Yeah, it'd be a toss-up between those two, really, wouldn't it?
Here's Leach again to Root. Bowls, and Root advances down the pitch this time and drives back to the bowler, who gets a hand to it, deflects it past the stumps at the non-striker's end, and there is no run. So 14 more needed, 318 for 7. A couple of minutes away from the scheduled lunch break. And Pennington to continue.
So yes, I'm not sure if I'll finish this over, Frank, because I've got an update to do, but I'll certainly start it. As inquiries are made, there is no guidance from the score box.
The umpires have not been in communication with the scorers, as far as I know. You start it and go whenever you like. Then.
Here is Pennington, 318 for 7. A big drive by Neeser, makes no contact whatsoever as it goes through to Roderick behind the stumps. Well, Neeser might be feeling peckish.
Yeah.
He's on 20 off 23 deliveries.
I think he's been feeling peckish since he got here, by the look of it. Plays the game with a smile on his face, doesn't he?
He does.
What I've seen, and I love that. I love that. One way or another, he just enjoys his cricket.
Pennington into bowl to Neeser. Pulls again into the leg side. He's hit that one hard, but Baker will be behind it this time to keep them down to a single. 319 for 7. 13 runs needed for victory here on BBC Sport Online. Also via the 2 county websites. Apologies if we haven't got your tweets in the last half hour, but we've had to keep every possible bit of attention on the game. So thank you to those who have been following us. As Root turns it on the leg side, realises that it's fine of square leg and they can dash through for a couple of runs, and that moves Glamorgan on to 321 for 7, and they need 11 runs for victory. Frank Watson to continue commentary.
Thanks to Nick Webb, who nips off to do an update for BBC Sport Wales, and game might well be over before he's back, because just 11 runs required. Dylan Pennington going round the wicket to Billy Root, and Root lets a good one go outside off stump through to wicketkeeper Gareth Roderick, and there is no addition. 321 for 7. Been a good performance by Glamorgan. Colin Ingram and Billy Root in particular have held things together on a pitch that's assisted the bowlers throughout. Worcestershire will feel that perhaps their bowlers have got less out of it than did Glamorgan's, particularly in this second innings anyway, as Pennington bowls, and there's a good square cut from Root, but a very good diving stop from Jake Libby at cover point means that he saved 4, because if that had gone past him it was definitely going to go all the way. Just 11 runs required for the Welsh county, who, remember, began this innings 132 in arrears, and that's all you need to know to realise quite how well they've played in this fourth innings. Joe Leach blew them away on the first morning, but since then they've batted very, very well indeed. Pennington hits Root on the pads as he tries to turn this one away on the leg side. There's no run. We're going to carry on playing despite the fact that lunch is due, because Glamorgan need only 11 runs to win. Worcestershire need 3 wickets. David Townsend's alongside me. You might want to say hello, David. Just visiting the ground this morning. I'm about to do an update, but probably have time to just tell us what you think. It's been quite a good, solid performance from Glamorgan, and Michael Neeser's injected a bit of energy just at the right time, hasn't he?
He has, hasn't he? Been very positive. It's been a good morning's cricket, hasn't it? Very pleased I made the trip down from Morton in Marsh.
Yeah, I think Worcestershire will probably just be a little bit disappointed that they just haven't got a bit more out of the pitch, really. Particularly the bowling from the Digless throughout the game has been challenging, and maybe this morning they just haven't quite, apart from Leach, they haven't quite made the batsman play enough when bowling from that end. Charlie Morris is doing just that now, and he comes in, and Neeser is on the back foot pushing this one out on the offside. So we've probably seen the last of Leach. 23 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 73 his figures. Career best 6 for 44 in the first innings from him, returning having missed 3 games after injury and bowling only 8 overs in the second team. He'll probably be quite happy with a match return of 8 for just over 100, but disappointed that it looks like it's going to be in a losing cause as Morris bowls and Neeser turns this on the leg side. Here comes that update. Glamorgan on the verge of what will be an excellent victory, bearing in mind that they began this second innings 132 in arrears. They started the day needing 100 to win. Worcestershire needed 5 wickets. Well, at the moment Glamorgan just need 11 more runs, and Worcestershire have managed only to take 2 wickets this morning. Joe Leach picking them both up, Harris for 4 and Cullen for 16, but it looks very much as though the Welsh county are going to take the honours here, scoring the biggest score of the game in the fourth innings, mainly thanks this morning to Billy Root, who's still there on 91. He's been joined by the Australian Michael Neeser, a hard hit 21 from him. Glamorgan on the verge, 321 for 7. As Neeser got a bit mixed up with that one, didn't he, and just fended it away on the offside.
Bounced a little bit on him. I know it's the regulation to carry on playing, but in this situation it's not helping Worcestershire, is it?
No, indeed. It would be good to break the rhythm of the batting side and possibly give the bowlers a bit of a break. Morris bowls down the leg side. Neeser flicks away down to long leg for a single. Fielder down there is Pennington.
Joe Leach has been the most threatening of the bowlers. If he had a 40 minutes with
he might bowl 3 or 4 more. Yeah,
a sausage roll and a glass of lemonade or something. He could come out and be threatening again after lunch. But no, fair play to Glamorgan. They batted very well, and when the ball has misbehaved a little bit, it's misbehaved in just the wrong place, hasn't it? And the ball's flown through.
They haven't quite got the line right from that Digless end at times this morning. Nick Webb's back. I'll let him come in, so we'll let him describe the winning moment when it comes, as Joe Leach brings that winning moment significantly closer, driving a half volley from Charlie Morris through the covers for 4. Goes into the 90s. Billy Root 91 not out. Fantastic. 95 not out now. Fantastic innings from him, and with 6 needed, Billy Root's in with a chance of the perfect day, really, isn't he? Could get the winning runs and bring up his 100. I better let you take over, Nick.
326 for 7, 6 needed, still 3 wickets in hand as Root drives through the offside, and there's 4 more. Billy Root takes Glamorgan to within 2 runs of victory as he moves on to 99 not out off 172 balls. And for a player who wasn't in the championship side for the opening matches of the season. He really has batted with tremendous character here today.
He has indeed, and all Michael Neeser needs to do now is get a single and leave Billy Root to get a single to win the game and bring up his 100, and everybody of a Glamorgan persuasion is going to be absolutely delighted. Disappointing for Worcestershire this morning, but that is to take absolutely nothing away from Glamorgan, and in particular Billy Root, who has shepherded his team in difficult conditions to what is going to be a highly significant and extremely hard-earned victory.
Here is Dylan Pennington then from the New Road end, with 2 needed to win for Glamorgan bowls to Michael Neeser, who drives and gets the winning runs with a boundary through mid-off. Glamorgan have chased down 332 to win. They finished 334 for 7. They've won by 3 wickets. Billy Root is 99 not out. He won't care. Michael Neeser finished the job in style, and Glamorgan have pulled off a really unlikely and testing run chase in a fabulous game of county championship cricket.
Yeah, I can't add much to that. Disappointing, as I say, for Worcestershire, but outstanding effort by Glamorgan to win a game, as I said on several occasions, to win a game when you have a first innings deficit of 132 takes some doing, and it's not as if the pitch flattened out. In those circumstances, you usually look at the situation and say, oh, but the pitch really flattened out. Well, it may have flattened out a little bit, but not highly significantly. It's just a really excellent performance. Billy Root in particular, Colin Ingram yesterday, and hats off to the Glamorgan batsmen for their efforts in this game. The men that were out today, Harris for 4 and Cullen for 16, but as long as Billy Root was there holding things together, it looked as though it was going to be a victory for the Welsh county, and that's how it proved. They win by 3 wickets. I'll just give you the Worcestershire bowling figures before we go. Leach eventually 23 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 73. Morris 17 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 39. Pennington 22 overs and 1 ball, 4 maidens, 1 for 62. Baker 26 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 65. Barnard 22 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 68. And Brett D'Oliveira just 1 over, no maidens, no wicket for 10. I hope you've enjoyed our BBC Sport coverage of this game here at New Road. It's been a tremendous game. I'd like to thank Nick Webb, who's been great company and given us great commentary alongside me throughout the 4 days. Also thanks to Eve Jones, who was here for 1 day, to David Townsend, who helped us out as well on day 1, and to Eddie Bevan, who made a cameo appearance as well on day 2. It's been a pleasure to watch a cracking game of cricket, regardless of the result from my sort of Worcestershire viewpoint, but I'll let Nick have the final word, and until the next time, thanks very much for listening and watching.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Frank. It has been an enjoyable, very tense last morning for supporters of both counties and for your commentary team, as Glamorgan's players hugging each other in delight as the handshakes are carried out with the opposition as well. 2 amazing batting performances in this 4th innings from Colin Ingram 102 and Billy Root 99 not out, when a Worcestershire victory looked the probable result when they began their chase of 332. It is a memorable occasion for Glamorgan, and they will challenge towards the top 2 of the division, depending on the Middlesex result later today. It's their 4th win of the season in 8 matches. Their promotion hopes are kept alive, and it has been a really good contest where Glamorgan have come from behind to earn victory, despite some really good Worcestershire bowling as well. So Glamorgan are victorious by 3 wickets. BBC Hereford and Worcester will be back with coverage of Friday evening's T20 game here at 5:30. That is against Lancashire. I'll be back from Chelmsford on Saturday evening with Edward Bevan from the match against Essex. That's 6:30 on Saturday night. And the championship resumes a week Monday. We can't wait. Glamorgan 3-3-4 for 7, win by 3.